The Tolbooth. From the earliest days of the royal borough, the administration of local affairs was centred here, under the authority of the Provost and Bailies, Stirling's Town Council. The first building to occupy the current site in Broad Street was a wooden tower erected in 1472. A more substantial stone structure appeared in 1575, consisting of a courtroom and cells, a council chamber, and an office where local tolls and taxes were paid. Hence, Tolbooth. The current clock tower was built to a design by royal architect Sir William Bruce of Kinross between 1703 and 1705. In 1785, Gideon Gray provided an extension of this townhouse, prison and clerk's office, a new courtroom, cells and prison block being gradually introduced by Edinburgh architect Richard Crichton around 1800. One significant feature of Crichton's courtroom was the provision of public seating, most courts having previously met in private within various small rooms within the townhouse. Many of the features of Bruce, Gray and Crichton's structures were restored in 2000 and 2001 during renovations by conservation architects Simpson and Brown. The worst jail in Britain. Our Tolbooth had a grim reputation. One visiting judge in the early 19th century complained that no doubt there was at some time and in some place jails even more wretched, but there has been no jail to my knowledge in which such a fearful state of things existed as has been the case in the prison of Stirling. The Tolbooth was not a prison as we would understand the term today. Inmates were rarely sentenced to set periods of penal servitude within its walls, at least until the 18th century. Jails were essentially little more than holding areas for those pending trial, awaiting the pleasure of the court, fines, whipping, branding, banishment, or execution, and there was seen as being very little point in maintaining their cells in good order. As many as 25 prisoners, men, women, and children, might be confined within a single Tolbooth cell. Until the 1820s, they were not provided with food or water and had to beg through the bars and rely on the kindness of strangers to survive. Filthy and overcrowded, it posed a serious threat to public health and was condemned as the worst prison in Britain by the newly appointed Inspector of Scottish Prisons, Birmingham-born Frederick Hill, in 1820. Prison break. Escapes from the Tolbooth were a constant source of embarrassment to Stirling's magistrates. Sometimes very little effort was needed to escape. On the 11th of March 1839, Daniel Martin and William Anderson simply lifted their cell door from its rusty hinges and walked out the front door, unnoticed by drunken turnkey Andrew Towers. Sometimes, though, liberation was unexpected and unwelcome. Each parish was obliged under law to provide men to take the king's shilling and serve in Britain's army and navy. Often vagrants and undesirables, detained in town jails for petty offences, would be volunteered for this service, but it was not unknown for press gangs to take matters into their own hands. In 1690, stonemason Angus Livingston was ta'en to be a soldier when the press gang smashed in his cell wall and carried him off into the night. The Staffman. From the Middle Ages, the Staffman was the official torturer and executioner for the borough, carrying out all manner of brutal public punishments at the Market Cross. The title occurs nowhere else in Scotland, and most likely arises from the ceremonial staff, which was the hangman's badge of office. The Stirling Staffman's life seems like an easy one. He was promised free food, drink, lodging, and the tools of his trade were provided at the borough's expense. Presenting his staffman's cup at any shop, he was guaranteed a measure of grain, flour, oats, wine, or whisky. Aside from his monthly wage, he was paid for every punishment, be it a hanging, whipping, branding, or lugging. There was, of course, a catch. His home at Hangman's Close was, as Stirling historian William Drysdale described it, a mere apology for a human habitation. Many a stable in the town said to be more comfortable. Worse, The office of staffman was a lifetime appointment. The executioner was bound to serve the borough until his dying day, and could not leave the town without first gaining permission from the provost. Only death or dismissal could free him from his contract. Also, if there were no executions, whippings, or sundry punishments to occupy his time, the staffman had to be gainfully employed by sweeping the streets.